Hello, everybody. Welcome to What the Flick. Ben Mankiewicz, Alonso, Duralde, Christy, Lemire, Matt Atchity. Always good to see you. How are you?
Welcome back.
Yeah. Pacific Rim, anxiously awaited by all. I didn't see it.
Pacific Rim is a story about giant monsters called Kaiju that attack the Earth. They're like Godzilla or Gamera or Rodan. Big monsters. And to fight big monsters, humanity bands together and builds these giant robots called Jaegers. That's pretty much all you need to know, because then they fight. Let's watch the trailer.
We always thought alien life would come from the stars. The first Kaiju made land in San Francisco. In order to fight monsters, we created monsters of our own.
It is pretty cool.
Two pilots, our minds, our memories, connected. And man and machine become one.
Today we face the monsters that are at our door. Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
This is kind of rad. And when you do go see it, Matt and I would like to recommend that you see it in IMAX. Because you did not see it in IMAX, I understand. And so we enjoyed it more than you did.
And I also saw it in 3D, which I'm told maybe is why I thought it was also dark.
No, it's the IMAX.
I think that's a combination of it, because 3D typically makes screens darker if they're not doing it right. We saw it in IMAX 3D, Christy and I, and what's great about IMAX, even on the smaller Limax screens, to use the phrase that you've coined before, I have to give credit where credit is due, they make sure that the lighting is still correct. So that movie was still very bright, but you saw it in 3D, not in an IMAX, and I suspect that that darkened it a lot. And I know that your review on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, great. So we're now just completely like, I am not qualified to talk about this movie.
I think what we're saying is,
I'll see it again, because I wanted to be, I was in the bag for this movie, all right? Like, Destroy All Monsters was my favorite movie when I was 7 years old. I was totally down for giant robots and giant monsters, and I felt like I couldn't see shit.
But isn't that their? I mean, that's not your fault. I mean, their responsibility is to make it look as good as possible in every dimension.
And what and part of our review here is to make sure that people go see it in the right way. Either see it in IMAX 3D or see it in 2D. Don't see regular 3D, because you run the risk of a dark screen and you're going to have the experience that you had, which is you can't see things.
I saw it on the studio lot, so if those guys don't know how to show it,
but that could be the case, right? Because they may not necessarily be used to showing 3D stuff. You know, the projectionists on the lot may not be used to that level of skill that you need to correctly show an experience in a 3D that people are going to like.
Because it's really beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And detailed, and we were just talking about this, like compared to a Transformers where it is giant things fighting giant things, this is really coherent and you can follow the fights, for example.
To be clear, the best thing happening in this movie is the fighting scenes. And so if you're in a situation like Alonso where you can't see it, where it's hard to see, you're going to hate this movie.
Well, I mean, I didn't hate it, and I will grant.
It's not like it. It's not going to bring as much to the table.
Sure, and it's certainly not edited in that Michael Bay Confuso-Vision way. I mean, I could figure out what was going on. There were some stirring moments, but I kind of felt like, if I'm in a movie about giant monsters, giant robots, I want to see some fucking giant monsters and giant robots. And I felt like I was just getting these, like, sort of an elbow here, and I was never getting a full head-on, head-to-toe look at it. And maybe that was just how the 3D was.
And a lot of it takes place at night and in the water.
At night and in the rain, or at the bottom of the ocean. It's like,
that's where they come from. That's where they come from.
I know, but they could have
one
daylight battle. I think that's asking too much.
Well, actually, there is one big daylight scene that I thought was absolutely terrifying, and it's the Rinko Kikuchi flashback to her childhood, which explains where she comes from and what her drive is. And I was terrified.
That was a scary scene.
It is so palpable, her fear and just sobbing, and she's running from this creature. It's this little bitty her and this giant thing following her. And so I think in your daylight, your big daylight moment, when it counts, it can be.
A good one. Although I have to say, I was a little disappointed, and again, nobody ever goes to a Godzilla movie for the human characters. And so I was willing to forgive a lot in this. But here I thought, like, you've got Rinko Kikuchi, who is one of my favorite young actresses. I mean, she is so hilarious in The Brothers Bloom without uttering a word. This is a great deadpan silent performance. They make her the cryingest, weepinest, whiniest female action hero I think I may have ever seen. Yeah.
She's a badass. She's hold her own with all the big boys, and is clearly the only person who's right to be his co-pilot.
She is a badass, but boy, does she get the moments, and I was like, no.
She's a survivor. She's a tough chick. I didn't get that at all.
She is not tough enough. There's too much crying on her part. There's no crying in monster movies.
I think this movie, I think it's a lot of fun, and you got to go in really wanting to see monsters fighting robots.
Sure.
And and it delivers on that level, but the characters are thin. I think you wouldn't need to necessarily name anyone. You could just give them job titles. A broken hero.
Russian bad guy.
Right, Russian bad guy. Yeah, exactly.
Top Gun rival.
Exactly. Like you could give them, and they wouldn't need names because the level of characterization never happens. That's okay in this movie.
I liked the comedy relief a lot. I thought Charlie Day and Bern Gorman from Torchwood were really funny, and Ron Perlman. Idris Elba, this may be the first bad performance I've ever seen him give.
No, he just has to be formidable and look great in a suit.
But
he can do that.
These are the two modes that he's in this movie. He's in speaking in a very intense kind of monotone. Oh, he's shouting like this, and that's what we get from him.
That's called range, baby.
All of us who love the Sons of Anarchy, we love Charlie Hunnam. How was he?
He's been to the gym.
Kind of a stiff. He's ripped.
I took a cross-country flight.
Frequently shirtless.
I took a cross-country flight with Charlie Hunnam and 3 other of the main guys in Sons of Anarchy.
Name dropper.
And the whole flight, I didn't take it with them. I was just behind them. They took it together, and Charlie Hunnam did not stop talking the entire flight. I mean, totally, he wasn't unpleasant in any way.
He was just a hell of a driver.
No, it was just,
allegedly.
He'd be like, he asked one of the guys, he'd be like, so how'd you get on with your father? You know, they were like having a serious conversation, and he'd go, well, my dad was kind of tough. And he'd be like, let me tell you about my dad. But he was engaging, and everybody liked him. So.
British queer as folk.
Can we talk about the fact that Guillermo del Toro directed this? I think that's totally germane to the fact that the monsters look really cool and beautifully grotesque and detailed, and maybe some of the best parts of it. Yes.
Again, I didn't see them. I gotta see this movie again clearly because I kept thinking, wow, in Pan's Labyrinth, you see the monster with the eyeballs in its palms, and you see the fawn, and you get a big fat look at all that stuff, and I really felt like I was watching this movie through a paper bag. So maybe I got to review this all over again. Maybe I got to see it IMAX, and that will be the thing.
This is an example of what a popcorn movie should be. There's a lot of apologists out there for Michael Bay, a lot of apologists out there for Roland Emmerich, and guys who can do big action movies that a lot of people line up and go see, but really aren't very good. I would almost say this felt like something that Spielberg might have done back in the day. I felt like this is a movie that doesn't have a lot of subtext. It's got a lot of great action. It's not the smartest movie I've ever seen, but damn, it's a lot of fun. It's really cool to watch. And this is the kind of movie that when people say, "Oh, why don't you just enjoy a fun popcorn movie?" This is the type of movie that popcorn movies should aspire to be.
Well, it may not have been the smartest movie you've ever seen, but I'm going to bet that it was the smartest movie you saw this week.
Yes, well, we'll talk about that later. No, but I really like this movie. It's flawed. It's got some problems. I don't think anyone's going to be looking at this and say this is an example of how to write a movie. Some of the story elements are very forced. The whole idea of the drift, I think, in order to get 2 people running a thing at one time, I felt like that was a little bit forced.
It's a cool concept,
but I felt there's problems with it. And I felt like, again, why not just put 2 pilots in things? Just why not say it's too complicated for one person to do?
Drifting began in the mountains.
Yes.
No, anyway. But the whole thing with the drift, they share memories, right? They share each other's thoughts. Is that not following them around all day, driving them mad that they have someone else's ideas in their head? They don't explain that very well.
Well, and they make a big deal about oh, you can't really do this right unless you really find somebody you're really compatible with, and then by the end of the movie, they're kind of just throwing whoever in and whatever.
It's
a cool idea though.
Okay,
Anyway, I like this movie a lot.
I will see it again in IMAX, and I will report back. I promise.
All right. I don't know what I'd give it.
You gave it a 7.3.
Okay, that was nice of me.
It's
rad. It's badass. It's cheeky. It's fun. It's thrilling.
I gave it a 6.8 because it worked in a lot of ways, and I liked some of the performances. And if I will see it in IMAX. If I like it more, I'll change that. But for right now, 6.8.
I will tell I know the studio. A lot of people are worried about this movie because it doesn't have big, huge A-list stars in it.
And it's
go see this movie. It's fun, and tell your friends. Go see it. This movie's fun, in spite of the fact that there's not major stars in it. I hope it finds an audience because it's great.
Is this the best blockbuster of the summer, possibly? Like, what's the best blockbuster of the summer?
Possibly.
Not Lone Ranger.
Fast Six.
Fast Six was great.
Is that
I think I like Fast Six a little bit better.
I would put it in that category. And you know what? I even despite this one, I liked White House Down. So, you know.
White House Down star, Ben Mankiewicz responds.
You guys, so your overall score for this is 7.2. I would have seen it. I would have skipped.
Have we convinced you?
I would have skipped softball if it had been called Pacific.
Tuesday means softball.
If it had been called Pacific Rim Job.
That's the
all right, well, you and I will go see it in IMAX.
Yeah, that'll be good. All right.
There we go.
Fair enough.